Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Why has he got the tape measure out, I hear you ask? Why has he got tape measure out? It's because I'm going to rearrange the place. It's dawned on me that some of the shelving has been positioned for the plants and some of it has been positioned for convenience. To gain shelf space and for convenience. The convenience being my workbench and my watering table. So that when I am doing aforementioned work and watering, I can look at my bit of garden. How often am I standing at this workbench? Okay, I do my repotting here. And when I'm doing my repotting, I'm concentrating on my repotting. Shouldn't be looking at the flipping garden. So it suddenly dawned on me that these two items are taking up useful plant space. This is a bright side to the grow room. This is a dark corner. It's only got one side of light, and that is the dark side. So these plants have all gone over to the dark side. Now at the moment I can do nothing because I've positioned the lights to deal with that and all along here and that. And the lights are going to come into their own very soon now. So I'm not rearranging anything now, but you have to bear in mind that once we get up to our 12.5, 13 hours of natural daylight, the lights are no longer needed until the winter time. That's a long time. So we can forget them. Once they've been used for this sort of 4-week let's get spring going period, they can just be forgotten. I'm not taking them down, they can stay where they are, they're not in the way. But if I'm going to rearrange the shelving, they'll have to be moved for next year. And that will have to be thought about, winter time. Sorry, not next year, winter time. It's not a now thing. So the idea is that these pair of shelves take up more space than they need to because they're in separate little trays at the bottom and they're not strapped together at the top. If I do that, they take up a lot less space and put the base in one tray, so that they can be strapped. This then fits exactly there. It comes to there. So those pair of shelves are going to come across to there. The workbench will go in their place. And then you stop and think to yourself, well, hang on. You've got a shelf in the way, you won't be able to get in there to do your work. That will go on the end, so my watering will be there. What about all your electrics? They won't be needed there. They can come over this side. That way I've got all my electrics over this side and I don't have to have wires running across the door. That's workable. So this pair of shelves comes over here. This shelf can then come out of the way and go here, and this one can move along there. So I'll have tiered shelving coming down here and then a tall one here on a bright side of the grow room. Light being far more important for the plants than convenience of me having a workbench. So we will then have plants all around us as we walk in. And this dark corner with plants tucked away that hardly ever get looked at will be one of the first things we see as we come in. Now at the moment the hydrofogger is not in use. I will empty out the tank because the water in there is getting quite mucky, Probably smelly as well. I started off as RO water, yes, but it's been in there a long time. So we'll empty that out. That'll make the moving these shelves easier. All of my old bits of bark from mounts that have been, you know, disused in the past can just go in a box and go down in the shed. They may never get used again. And that means I'll have plenty of space on here to store things, which means some of the stuff I've got in the lounge at the moment can come out here. So it'll be easier to get at. Yeah, so it's workable. So that's the general idea. There'll be a few finalising thoughts. As I said, I mean, if I'm going to keep the hydrofogger in use, then it's got to have a place and it's got to have somewhere to plug in, and it's got to be near the header tank to supply its water. So all that's got to be thought about. If the header tank stays on the workbench, because it needs to be raised up, yeah, and it needs to go on something strong because it's heavy, the workbench is the obvious answer. In which case, the hydrofogger has to go this side of the door. To be thought about. I might be able to tuck it up in that corner, because that shelving will move. So there'll be a gap there. So we'll see. But that's the idea anyway, is to, you know, I mean, this shelving was put here to take advantage of the lights. That might not stay there permanently. You know, the plants that are on there can be moved around. If these two sets of shelving come over here against a bright window, the lower shelves become usable. Instead of having to have everything perched right on the edge of the shelf to get some light from above. So we shall see. And obviously the tables eventually will disappear, but that's not until the cymbidiums go outside. That's not till May. So I'm not taking those tables moving out the way on board at the moment. But when the tables move out the way, that tall shelf will come back over here for the summer months. Yeah, so that's my idea, is to get rid of the workbench and the watering table from an important part of the grow room for plants, rather than convenience for me, and move it to a place of non-importance. So workbench and watering can take place in this darker corner with nothing particularly to look at while I'm doing it, so that I can just get on with my work. It's called a workbench after all. And the plants will gain light and a much better position. So there we go. And we will still have a dark side. We will still have plants that can go against this back wall. There's no light reflects off that brick wall. It's a darker side to the grow room. This side and this side are bright. This is bright light. And eventually, when we get to the summer, obviously, we'll start getting some sun on this part of the roof. It only comes on part of the roof. But I think that'll be a better arrangement. So I will work towards that. I'm not saying when I'm going to do it. It might even be today. They always say strike while the iron's hot and all that sort of stuff. So while the idea's there, but there's electrics to move. All the plants would have to come off these shelves and just go on the floor somewhere out the way. I'd have to sort the header tank out and get that emptied, because otherwise it'll just be too heavy to move. And I can have a good tidy up of what's actually underneath the workbench. Oh, another point. Somebody asked about the hot box. Am I still using it? The sulphur warmer. Mustn't call it a sulphur burner. There is no sulphur burnt in the hot box. It is heated up to a melting point and a point at which it evaporates fumes. There is no burning going on. People worrying about the fumes. But I can't use it at the moment because it can only be used when there's no fans. Yeah? And recently it's been too cold and the heater's been kicking on and off. And when the heater comes on, the big fan comes on. So I haven't been able to use it. But I will start using it again when I get appropriate weather, which means it's a period when I can shut the door round and know that the heater's not going to kick in, because it's got to have still air to work properly. So that's just added that bit in. So that's the idea anyway, is to utilise this nice bright side of the grow room for plants, and me gets to move into the darker corner. And I think that will work quite well. What do you think? And also, while you're thinking about it, do you think I'm going to take any notice of what you think, having made the decisions already? Nonetheless, your views are always important. You have to bear in mind, when I'm filming repotting, you won't be able to see out the window. Yeah? So there we go. And the other thing I need to seriously consider, which is why I'm thinking that this lowest shelf needs to go here. If I put 2 tall shelves here, from my seat in there, I need to be able to see the bird feeders and a bit of the garden. And these shelves will come tall up here. So I need that view through there. So the lowest shelf goes here, where the watering table is, so that I can see across the top of it. So I should still be able to see the bird feeders. And although some people think I should keep feeding the birds throughout the year so that they know there's always food there, I have decided I'm not having the bird feeder there all year round. So once all the leaves come out, you know, and the insects get about and all that sort of stuff, and there's proper food for the birds available, I will stop feeding again for the summer, and then I'll have to build it up again for the winter. And we'll see how that goes. So the need to see the bird feeders through the summer months won't be there, because I'll tuck that up into a corner somewhere in the garden. So there we go. Those are the thoughts. We can have a quick look at this on the end, because this is opened up now. These Oncidium blooms are typical Oncidium blooms, and they're on a typical spike where they come out at all sorts of angles. This one is completely upside down. They do that. This one's over at an angle, upside down virtually. And then these are the right way up. So that's just what this one does. If you look over here, most of these are up the right way, but if you look, there's some that are upside down. They just seem to open however they like. Yeah. And yes, so those are my ideas. We're going to have a shuffle round, and it'll be to the advantage of the plants. And quite honestly, you have to stop and think, which is the important bit out here? Is it the plants, or is it my convenience when I'm working, which is not that often? It's not like I'm out here every day doing stuff, because I'm not. Now that I've got the mounts down to next to nothing, even in the warmer summer months, even then, I'm still only watering my pots every 3 or 4 days. I'm not out here that often. It's more important for the plants to have a better environment. And the black cloth will be able to go. That gets used for filming purposes. It was really for the project orchids, to make the filming of the project orchids a bit more special than just normal filming. That was what that was for. It also served a purpose when I'm filming my bonsai, because people said, because of the delicate nature of some of the twigginess of the trees and the more intricate pruning work that I was talking about, they couldn't see what I was doing because of the cluttered background. Well, maybe I can still get the cloth up over here. I don't know. It's not important. That is not important. The plants out here are what's important. So those are the plans. Yeah. I don't know what just suddenly started that. I came out here this morning and thought it wasn't quite light. And when it's not quite light, the difference in the light from this side to this side becomes far more apparent. You know, because your eyes play tricks anyway, you know. As I look into the slightly darker corner, my eyes open up a bit and it becomes bright. And then as I look round to the brighter part, my eyes close down a bit. So my brain and my eyes between them make the whole grow room look as though it's the same light everywhere, but it's not. There is a distinct difference. So we will accommodate plants and a reshuffle will take place. And as I said, I'm not sure when I'm going to do it, but I can't really do it until I finish with the lights. If I do it before I finish with the lights, then I will waste this light up here, which does the top shelf of this bench. And trying to get that light over here, where that shelf's going to move, is a big deal. There's nowhere to hang it. I'd have to put new wires up and everything. It's not worth it for now. So we will wait until we finish with the lights, which should be about the middle of March. And we will be starting at the beginning of February. So we will have 6 weeks to build up, well, less than that actually, because I want the 12 hours plus day length to happen before it happens naturally. If you see what I mean. So we will be starting using the lights very soon, and then we will build up to our 12 and a half hour day lengths early and incorporate hotter day temperatures using the heater if necessary. Yeah, there's going to be quite a bit going on to manage this place, to get it through into its sort of summer routine. There'd be quite a bit to do, quite a bit of involvement. And also, during that period, as the day lengths get forced, we will start work. We've got a lot of repotting to do. So, yes, I won't say it's all change, because it's not. But there are some changes coming up, definitely. And we will, once we've done the reshuffle and we've got the shelves where I want them, there will be a plant reshuffle as well. Because I will still have plants that don't need bright light. Well, they will occupy this area here, yeah? Or lower shelves over here, yeah? And the stuff that needs the brighter light will be over here. And again, there can still be slightly more shaded areas by literally putting plants this side on lower shelves. That side of a lower shelf is nearly as bright as a top shelf, but this side won't be. So we can play around for light purposes and get the plants in a suitable accommodation for the growing season. So there we go. All good stuff, isn't it? These are plans. These are not for immediate sort of implementation. This is just thoughts to get things in a better place for the coming growing season. It's all very well forcing spring early and everything to get things growing early, but to keep them going, they need to be in the best light for the type of plant. So there's quite a bit of reshuffling to do. And then obviously there'll be a lot more space in here once the cymbidiums go outside. And if I get the proper staging done so that cymbidiums have got some good staging on casters, there might be a few other plants go outside with them for those summer months. Because obviously if you take away that roof that does provide a little bit of shading because it's not clear, if you take that away by being outside, the light is brighter. And there are a few plants in here that might do them the world of good. Who knows, we might even get non-blooming plants to actually bloom. I can think of 2 dendrobiums specifically at the moment. Anyway, that's to come. So there we go, some thoughts on some shuffling around. And it's not a lot of work to do it, I must admit. And when I'm doing something that should in theory have an obvious bonus, an obvious plus, it's enjoyable work, if you know what I mean, because you're working to a goal, you're working to achieve something that you know is going to do some good. So it'll be a bit of fun. And it's something I can do on my own. I don't need to wait for Hannah to be down for a weekend like some of the bigger stuff has needed. So There we go. See you next time. Thanks for dropping by.